Salut și bine ați venit la o nouă ediție ZFIT Generation. Eu sunt Ádám Sebestyén, jurnalist ZF, iar invitatul ediției de astăzi este Ádám Sebestyén, cofondator al Giggle. Hello Adam, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks very much for the invitation.
So let's start with the basic stuff. Who is Giggle and what does it do?
Giggle is a gig marketplace where we basically connect individuals with employers for shift-based work. So whenever there's a need for an HR for a person, then the employers can upload a shift to our platform, and individuals on the other end can apply to these tiny jobs, which are called gigs, and they can do these daily jobs whenever there's need on the employer side. So it's a two-sided marketplace. On one side we have the employers, and on the other side we have the workers, and we connect them for gig works.
I saw an article about you, and it said it's like a Tinder for gig economy. So
yeah, precisely. So the experience that we created for the employers, and in some extent also for the workers, it's a very Tinder-like experience. So it's a very smooth and very fast process how they can connect with each other.
Okay, so now we know what are you doing. Let's discuss a little bit the history. Maybe you could share a little bit your personal history and how did you come up with this idea? When did you start?
We started approximately 3 years ago when we were working on another product with my co-founding partner, and it was the product that we were developing at that time. It was dedicated for hotels. So we had a lot of discussions, and actually we were up and live with the previous product with hotels. And whenever we went and met the GMs, the general managers of these hotels, they were always saying that what we do is pretty nice and it's relevant for them, but what is really a painful thing for them is to find relevant people who can do very easy and simple tasks. One that they were always complaining about was finding a dishwasher, even for a day or even for a week. If we could find them someone, that would be very useful for them. So that was the time when we realized that we have something in our hand for which there's demand, but if we really want to do something that will strive and go very, very fast, we should be working on something which is more related to HR. And on the other hand, we also saw that there were food delivery companies and especially ride-hailing companies which were growing, especially in the pandemic era, very, very fast. So these were, I think everyone knows these food delivery companies which just appeared, and all of a sudden they became a pretty big employer, not necessarily in a full-time base, but they attracted a lot of potential workers. So we were considering if there's anything that we could do to make the positions that are available at hotels more attractive for the worker side. And we came up with the concept that if we make these positions, if we slice these positions up and basically offer them in a more flexible way for people, most probably there's going to be a significantly higher demand on the worker end, and that's what actually happened. So 3 years ago we just created a website, and basically we collected in email format the shift needs of our potential employer partners. We collected all of them, put them into one list, and basically sent in an email form to all of those workers who signed up to work flexibly. And it was, I wouldn't say it was a miracle, but it wasn't far from that. So it was almost instantaneous. There were a huge demand on the worker end to fill those shifts that the hotels, as ordinary, as full-time positions, couldn't really recruit successfully. So it was something that we saw that there's going to be a very strong need on the market for a similar service. So that's how we started, and the name was something that was, we were iterating a little bit what names we could use for this project, and that's how we came up with Giggle. It was a very fast decision, and after some months of manual operations, we started to develop the platform, and the platform started as a web application. approximately half a year after we launched the service, and then we created a native app as well, so it is downloadable to any mobile device, to any major mobile device, or so it is available for Android and also for iOS. And since then, until now, we have around 135,000 registered workers, and we have more than 2,500 employer partners who are matching with each other in great extent. So we have filled successfully over 80,000 shifts, and it is growing month by month. So there are thousands and thousands shifts that are uploaded by the partners of ours, by the employer partners of ours, and on the other end, these are successfully filled up by the workers who are on the other end.
Are those figures available for which markets?
Actually, these are the combined markets.
Okay.
These are the combined numbers.
So Hungary and Romania.
Yes, we started in Budapest, and in Hungary we are representing in two cities, in Budapest and in Debrecen, which is the second biggest Hungarian city, and we are also here in Romania, but especially in Bucharest, because it is important to say that the workers and the employer partners needs to be in a relatively close physical proximity to each other, so that it is needed. Basically, our workers here in Romania are also close to our employer partners. And here in Romania, we have more than 11,000 registered workers and more than 250 registered employer partners.
And how are those figures for Romania? Are they beyond expectation, as you expected? How would you say that was the ride in Romania until now?
It was a very interesting ride here in Romania. We started to test the water approximately 3/4 of a year ago, so early in 2024 September, and we wanted to have a better understanding of whether there's a need for a similar service here in Romania, and we have seen that there's a very big need on the worker end. That's something which is for sure, because there are a lot of people who want to work as boat drivers or as courier people. So there's a big community, or there's a big demand on the worker end to work flexibly. What we wanted to understand more is whether there's need on the employer end, and everyone was saying that there's need. I think the openness is there. From the employer partners as well. They need to have a bit of an understanding of how a similar solution could serve them on a daily basis. So if there's a restaurant, we need to explain them that there are jobs to be done. There are things that needs to be done in your restaurant, and these can be done not only with full-time employees, but you can have workers who are there under flexible terms, and it doesn't mean that these workers will not go back to your restaurant to do these tasks regularly. And I think that's the most important, that we need to convey, that these people are going back again and again and again, and effectively they can create a pool of flexible workers who will work them under flexible terms, but on a permanent base. And I think that's very important to explain.
Okay, and how is legislation here in Romania? How are the laws? Because we know when everything that's related to employment, it's kind of a bureaucratic, and sometimes it's a pain. So I'm curious, how are things in Hungary? How are things in Romania? And how can employers navigate this?
Sure, I think this is one of the first questions that we receive from the employer partners. In Hungary, there's a so-called simplified employment scheme that the employer partners can use, and we can also provide the people as a leasing service under the same scheme. And here in Romania, you have something which is very similar, but somehow it has a negative connotation, and it is not that well known by the employer partners, that especially in the HoReCa sector, ziliers, so daily workers, can be used for non-trained positions. And that's the scheme that we use at the moment, because basically we provide people for very easily fillable tasks. So things that can be learned in a very fast-paced way. So these are basically non-trained positions, and we can provide the people as a service. So we can only mediate in between the two parties. That means that the employer partner is the one who do the registration. Or we can also provide the people as a sort of leasing service, but it's still going to be a zillier leasing service.
And can you, let's say, if you are an employer and on the other hand, someone who is looking for a job, can you recruit someone for just one day in a month and then nothing? And on the other hand, can you work just for one day and then, who knows, maybe after 2 months? How flexible are things in your platform?
It is fully flexible, and it is fully flexible from both ends. So the employer partners, basically, it's free at the time of the posting. So they can post a shift. If it is only one shift, then it is only one shift. And they only pay after the successfully filled shifts. So if they couldn't find anyone or they didn't have any applicants for some reason, it is pretty unheard of. But it could happen that something goes wrong, and in those situations they don't need to pay. So it's free to post, and it's free until we did not successfully fill the shift. And on the worker end, there's also no direct commitment that needs to be taken by the workers. So the workers can decide when and how many shifts they want to take in a given month. There are workers who work very actively for 2 months and then they disappear. Students are very commonly seen like that. And there are people who work through us as a complementary income. So they have a full-time or a part-time position, but they want to work whenever they have some extra time and exchange their time to money. So there's no direct dedication, but what we see, so on average, our workers work around 25% of an FTE. So they could be considered as a quarter of an employee. That's the average. And what is also very true that if there's a good match in between the employer and the worker, the employers also tend to go back to the same employer. The workers also tend to go back to the same employer partner. And that's something which is not necessarily obvious at the beginning, because we sell the concept for the workers that they can work fully flexibly. But what is very true that also the workers don't like going to numerous places all the time. They wanna feel themselves handy, and also they want to be part of a team, which is absolutely possible through us. And also their productivity level after some time they go back to the same employer partner is equal to the full-time employees of an employer partner.
Speaking of what you said, that employers are paying only after the shift is fulfilled, what's your business model? How are you generating revenues?
It's a commission-based business model. So basically, we take a commission out of the paid salary, which is relatively low compared to ordinary leasing services or similar HR providers. We have the technology, and with the technology, the transaction cost for us is very, very low. So we can be significantly more competitive than some of those agencies which are doing a very similar, which are providing a very similar service, but in a manual way. Technically, we don't need to interfere with the matchmaking part. So the shift is uploaded through the platform by the employer partner, and the workers can apply to those shifts without any interference which is coming from us. So it's a very, very efficient organization from that perspective, and that means that we can be competitive from a price perspective for the employer partners. And there's no dedication. I think it is also important that if you go to a job board, normally you pay in advance and then you see what kind of applicants you receive. If you pay for a leasing service, you do not necessarily know who's going to be the one who will come. You don't necessarily have the possibility to make a selection out of those applicants, which are the ones that I would prefer to work with. So that's the reason why it is often considered to be a bit of a Tinder. But they have the possibility in a very easy way to review the profiles. These are standardized profiles. They see ratings about the worker. So it's a very, very simple thing for the employers as well to accept someone.
What have you seen so far on the Romanian market? What kind of shifts were the most requested ones?
We are the strongest in the HoReCa sector, but we also have logistic-related partners. So these are the two ones which are the strongest ones. Dishwashing position, pickers, and
really, dishwashing?
Yeah, dishwashing is very common to see, because that's very easy to learn. So even after, I don't know, 15 minutes of explanations, in most cases, people can start to generate value for the employer partner. And it's, it's not the most popular position for the full-time employees. So we can, ease the life of the full-time employees of the employer partner. And those people who do not necessarily need to do that for, 40 hours a week, they have the motivation to do it. They only do it when they prefer to do it. So that's definitely one thing. And the other thing is a picker. So in logistics, easily learnable logistic-related tasks are the second most popular here in Romania. And that's something that is also true in Hungary, to be honest. There's not a big difference in between. We also have these event servers and very easily learnable serving positions, runners, someone who take off the table, for instance, in the restaurants. Those are commonly seen positions here in Bucharest and also in Budapest.
Okay. And how is the business doing? Is it growing? Do you see a good growth rate versus last year, let's say, or versus last month? How are things going?
Yeah, it is growing. It is good to see that there's openness from the business side, and there's also a lot of workers who prefer to work flexibly and have some extra income. So those employers and those workers who already experience what it means to use Giggle, we have received a lot of good testimonials from the employer partners as well. So they really enjoy the fact that if they need someone for a day, for tomorrow, for instance, they can upload a shift and most probably they will receive someone within a couple of hours. So it's I'm not saying it's a godlike experience, but whenever you want to have someone on your spot for tomorrow, you can have someone there, and it's a very convenient thing for them as well. And on the worker end, it's just, if you are a student and you don't want to have a permanent part-time position, you can just work whenever you want to. So it's a new experience for many workers and also for many employers that they can have that instantness. And this instantness is something to which the world is going into. So people are more expecting that they can get things very, very fast, and also the employers need to react to the business needs very, very fast. I think that's also true in the HoReCa sector, but it's especially true in logistics. So if they need more people to pack something on a certain day, let's say on Monday they only need 20 people, but on Thursday they need 30, then it's something that we can very easily serve.
Okay, or maybe on Black Friday, let's say.
Black Friday, obviously, it's a very common thing, but there's a yearly seasonality which is built into the HoReCa sector, also into the logistics sector. But there are also weekly and monthly seasonalities that can be even daily. I mean, in the HoReCa sector, daily seasonality is definitely there. So they need more people during lunchtime and also during dinner time than how many they need normally in between.
And how about the registration process? How long it is for employers and for workers? And I don't know if there is any hard stop for worker. You cannot work on a daily basis, I don't know, only for a few months or for a year. Are there any hard stops from legislation, let's say?
Yeah, there are restrictions on the worker end, especially. But in most cases, so that's the situation. People do not work through us in a full-time base, so they consider that opportunity as a part-time. It can be permanent, but they do not necessarily have the full-time employee dedication. So that's not necessarily a problem for us. So from that perspective, we use the system in a fully legal, lawful way, because the system is created for flexible employees. So that's from that perspective. The current legislation is kind of in line with what we do. And
the registration, how fast or slow is it?
The registration is also very smooth and simple. For the employers, they only need to, so they register, they give us their company credentials, and they can in all cases, we have a phone call after the registration. So we try to understand the business needs, what kind of, what is the request, what are the kind of people that they look for. And then afterwards, we approve their profile so they can start to upload as many shifts as they want to, so they can start to do the recruitment. And on the worker end, if I register, I need to go through just a few things. So basically, I give my name and my email address. And then I also need to give my personal details. And then there's a video that you upload about yourself. So it's a video, and then before, so the vetting is basically we see the video, we also understand based on the profile what is the background of the person, and there are certain job categories to which we approve the workers. So not every worker can apply to every kind of shift, because we believe that it is important for the employers to receive relevant applications. And after the profile was approved, it doesn't take longer than 5 minutes, you can start to apply to positions. So it's a very, very simple procedure for the workers and also for the employers. You can start to work from one day to the other one. So if you register today and you apply to shifts which are available for tomorrow, you can be easily accepted for tomorrow. It is important, though, that after you worked as a worker, you receive reviews. And these reviews can be very, very useful for the employers to make the decision who are the most reliable people, who are the most relevant people for a certain position. That's something which is which can be questionable, but we believe that transparency, which is built into the system, is very important. Because if I apply in a Facebook group, for instance, it's going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard for the employer to tell which are the reliable applicants and which are the non-reliable applicants. And in Giggle, it's a very, very transparent system. So after I worked, the employer has the opportunity to evaluate the worker based on certain criteria, and it is visible at the next application that the worker has already worked, so the number of shifts that the worker has worked is visible, and also the aggregated rating is visible, and you can also see in which position what kind of ratings you have received. So it's a transparent system.
Okay. How much did you invest until now to develop the platform? And maybe you could share a few words about the startup ecosystem in Hungary. How are things going on? We want to get the most out of you, to get some information also what's happening in the neighboring country.
We started as an angel backdoor, let's say. We already received investment when we started, very, very early on. We started with the validation, and after we had success, we could attract investment capital from angel investors. So what I can say that in Hungary there's one association which is called Hungarian Angel Networks. It's a Hungarian angel network, let's say like that. There's a strong angel community over there. At least that was our experience. That after we pitched to potential angel investors, we received investment after we had success. But I think, based on what and then we received investment. That was the first round of investment that we received, and after we moved on, and the traction was the growth that we had was very startup-like. We also received a follow-up investment from one institutional investor. So that was the second round of ours. And then now we are going into the third round of investment that we want to raise. So actually we are close to fundraising. Actually we are fundraising at the moment. We had connections to a lot of Romanian VCs as well. So we see that Romanian VC scene is also up, and it is relatively active. I don't know anything about the angels. We had some.
We also have a strong community of angels, so maybe you could also talk to them.
Yeah. I guess we will. And it's also, very interesting to meet other startuppers, so people who are startup entrepreneurs here in Bucharest or nationwide here in Romania, to share a few examples how they are growing here, and also relevant startup events, similar things. We are part of the Hungarian startup ecosystem, let's say like that, and I think we want to be part of the Romanian one as well, to understand, to have connections to relevant people, and also to share and exchange. That's something that we very much value in our home startup ecosystem, that we can share things that we made wrongly, or things that with which we were extremely successful. So also investors, which are the good ones, which are the bad ones. And if we receive investment here in Romania as well, I think it's very important to do our homework, who those potential investors are. We always try to look for similar opportunities when we can meet other startup entrepreneurs.
Well, for sure, we are going to invite you to our events, and one step you did, being here present on the show, I think word is going to spread out even more. So, coming back to investment, can you share, do you want to share how much funds did you attracted so far, or maybe can you share how much funds are you trying to raise at this point? We enjoy figures, as you can imagine, being the financial newspaper. We kind of enjoy this and look after these kind of figures.
Yeah, I can talk about ranges. So
yeah, that's good.
I cannot disclose the exact amount that we have received until now, but I can say that until now we received between 500K and 1 million euro. So that's what we needed to get to this point when we are present in 2 different countries. We have that many registrations on both ends. And we consider that as so we believe that we were rather cost efficient. So we always had this frugalness. We don't necessarily like to build something only out of the cash that we received from investors. So I think that is important, that this number is pretty. So we were rather cash efficient in our opinion, and that's something that I would suggest.
Investors must love you.
Yeah, I mean, I think they are not complaining about the situation in which we are. So out of the money that we received, and right now the company valuation is between, let's say just the range, but between 5 to 10 million. That's the pre-valuation with which we are raising for the next round, and the investment amount. So the investment that we are looking forward to receive is between 1 and 2 million.
Okay. Speaking of the future, what are you expecting? Let's start with the Romanian market. Based on what happened so far, and I guess on your contacts and discussions here on the market, you are in Bucharest, obviously, at this point. What do you expect? Maybe you could share some of your plans for Romania.
Yeah, sure. Our aim is to become a household brand for the workers and also for the employers. So whenever someone thinks about, I need a person for a day, I need someone who can support me regularly under flexible terms, Giggle should be the one that comes into their mind. And we are working on that. We are working on creating that image and establish ourselves from that perspective here in Bucharest and also in other major cities in Romania. That's something that we foresee for the upcoming 12 months. So to create this household image, I think this requires time, also money, and also a lot of work from our end to be able to serve the needs of our employer partners and also obviously our workers. So that's what we foresee for the next 12 months here in Romania. And after, basically, we need to further grow. So if you are a startup company that received investment early on, you are kind of expected to grow exponentially and to continue this growth as long as it is possible. So what we do after the Romania market launch, we will go to other major countries where we can establish a similar business. This is.
Can you share which markets are you considering?
Yeah, I mean, sure.
If you want.
Yeah, Italy is on our radar, and Czech Republic. Yeah, Italy is a big, because we build city-based marketplaces. So for us, it is important that if we go to a country, there should be a lot of potentially good marketplaces, which are basically cities.
Can I ask you, why do you have this approach, city-based and, I don't know, not country-based, but city-based? What made you choose this path?
It is kind of given because the workers and the employers needs to be in a close physical proximity, but it is also very, very important that we have a liquid marketplace. So we need enough employers and we need enough workers. So there must be a critical mass in terms of received shifts and fillable shifts for us. And if we do it in a big bang launch, then it can easily happen that there are going to be cities where we succeed and we will receive a liquid marketplace, but it can easily happen that we will only have workers in one city and we will not have enough employers. So it's a very delicate thing to find or to create the balance in between that two, and it's always a chicken and egg problem. So you need to have both of them in order to create something which is effective.
I understand. It's a smart approach. So did you get any calls from, I don't know, Cluj, Timișoara, or any other Romanian cities saying, come over, we need you?
Yeah, definitely. That's something that, and it's hard to say no, but we need to. So there's nothing else that we can do, because if we don't have the dedicated focus to create a liquid marketplace, we will just ruin their experience. So we tell them that at some point we will be there. So in the next 12 to 6 months, you can expect that you will be able to use Giggle over there too. But at the time, to create a good experience on both ends, it is important for us to focus on certain cities.
Do you have any, I don't know, let's say any target like we want to double the number of companies or the employers, or we want to double the number of potential workers in Romania? What can you share about this?
Definitely. I mean, as I mentioned, we are a startup, we are investment backed, and we need to at least 10x our numbers until the end of this year. So it's going to be a strong growth for us. There's no doubt about that.
What can you share to other startups who are considering entering the Romanian market? Any piece of advice, any do's and do nots? Maybe we are based, of course, in Romania, and our audience is based in Romania, but we still have, I think, an international audience. So maybe you can help someone who is considering doing it and is going to see this interview.
I think it is not only for someone who wants to enter to the Romanian market, but generally speaking, if you want to enter to a foreign market, you need to be physically present. I think it's very much. I mean, the importance of that is always there. So I'm very often here. Basically, I'm here from Monday to Friday, almost every week, and we have a team here. But I think that is very, very important to build up your own professional network, because at the beginning, I mean, in our case, we were lacking of any professional network here in Bucharest. So we had to build it up. We had to be present at events. We had to be present at physical meetings where we presented ourselves to potential employers. And also this dedication which comes from the founders, that needs to be part of the spirit. So that needs to be part of the team spirit, that whatever happens, whatever comes through that gate, we will win. We will defeat that monster that we need to. And obviously, we can build a good team here, and we have a very good team here. But this devotedness, this dedication that we need to do it, that needs to be sustained and also strengthened in our team. So I think this is one of the most important.
Be present. Okay.
Be present, and always push the limits. So I think that's, and not only for yourself but also for the team, because that's how you can convince the team members as well that we will succeed, because it's always going to be very difficult at the beginning. You will not know anyone. You will have limited information about the legal structure, about anything that is ongoing here in Romania, but most probably in other countries if you want to step out from Romania to a foreign country. So in our case, where we need physical presence, because basically we need to physically meet the employer partners, I think this is something which is very much suggested, to have a physical presence, to be very, very open right from the beginning, because that's another thing, that you need to collect those insights on a personal level. If I just hear it from some of my colleagues that someone said that and then someone else heard it from there, it's not going to be the same experience. So physical presence is needed to cheer for the team, show dedication, and also to receive a lot of insights. And if you can compile these in a good way, most probably you will have an understanding, you will have some professional network, and at some point you will have partners.
Yeah. And one final question for the end of our discussion. Where do you see Giggle, let's say, in 5 years, or where do you dream it to be?
Yeah, we need to build up a multi-city startup. That means that we need to be present in 5 different countries at least, in around 10 to 15 different cities. So our operation should be very similar to some of those food delivery companies that are very well known, or to some of those ride-hailing companies that are very well known. So we will grow here in Romania, also in Hungary, in many other European countries, and most probably we will consider to go to any other bigger markets. Not to the US, there are very strong competitors over there, but rather to other emerging countries.
Okay, thank you very much for the discussion, and I wish you best of luck in Hungary and also in Romania and all the other markets.
Thanks. We are looking forward to move forward here in Romania.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
Mulțumesc foarte mult pentru că ne-ați urmărit. Aceasta a fost ediția de astăzi a ZF IT Generation. La revedere!